Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Sassy Grace, and I want to read to you a letter that my mother wrote when my ex-husband took me through the court system with more than 100 court documents. I fought him for 3 years, and he lied repeatedly. That's just what my mother had to say. My name is Georgia McGuire. I am the mother of the accused, Nancy K. Sack. Nancy has related some of the things she is being accused of. I moved from Oklahoma in November of 2000 and lived at John and Nancy's home for a little over a month. I lived in an apartment just a few blocks from them for almost 2 years. I was at their home on the average of several times a week, and we also spoke on the phone quite a lot. In all the time I was there, I never saw clothes piled in all the corners. The only place I saw clothes piled up was when they were in the laundry room ready to be washed. Nancy nearly always washed and folded her and John's laundry, as John had to have his clothes folded in a certain way. I never once saw food rotting in dishes in the kitchen or anywhere else. I never once saw John do any house cleaning at all while I was there. When I stayed at their home, I tried cooking, but many times when John came home from work, he would just go to his bedroom or out in the garage, or if he did sit down and eat, a lot of the times he did not like what I cooked. Heather didn't either, because she wanted to fix her own food the way she liked it. Heather enjoyed cooking her own food and being able to eat what she wanted to. Nancy and I felt that this was better than forcing her to sit down and eat something that she didn't want to eat. I met John's mom and dad when I went to John and Nancy's wedding in March of 2000. We picked them up at the airport. That was the first time my daughter had met them. I think it was the day before the wedding. My daughter was very busy trying to get everything ready for the wedding. She and John left to go on their honeymoon right after the wedding. So when Paul and Vernice came up for a visit in October of 2002, that was the second time my daughter had ever met them. Vernice says my daughter was cordial, but not warm. Vernice needs to go to the dictionary and look up the word cordial, because the meaning is warm and sincere, friendly, gracious, characterized by kindness, warm courtesy, expressing warmth of heart. I spent a little over 2 weeks at John and Nancy's home before I moved to Georgia in August of 2002. I was at the hospital when her son Isaiah was born in July of 2002. And I was over at their home nearly every day before I moved in for the 2 weeks before I left. Nancy took great care of the baby, always making sure he was changed and when he was wet or messed his diaper. She gave him a sponge bath or a full bath to make sure he was always clean. Nancy got a breast pump so she could fill some bottles because she felt it was important that John, Heather, and I experienced the closeness of being able to hold and feed Isaiah. When John came home from work, Nancy was always trying to get him to hold Isaiah. But on most occasions, John would say, "Oh, I'm too dirty," or "too tired," and would go out to the garage or to the work or to the yard to work on his rock fence, or he might go to his bedroom. Sometimes Nancy would take the baby in there with them. I don't remember ever seeing John go and pick up the baby of his own initiative in the time that I was there. As for Vernice's charge that every time the baby finished nursing he would cry and have a serious look in his eyes, I would hope that he would have some kind of emotion because it shows he is interacting with his mom. As for Isaiah crying every time after he nursed, I know that is not true because I was up there part of the time, and after that Nancy and I would talk on the phone several times a week. Sometimes when I hear Isaiah crying, I can tell when Nancy picks him up and he starts to nurse because you can hear him. And the only times that I've ever heard him cry was when he had a stomach ache. Nancy would rub his tummy and I could hear him as he started to feel better. As for Nancy disappearing several times a day for about 10 minutes after she handed Isaiah to Vernice to hold, is Nancy not allowed to have a few minutes alone to use the bathroom and make a phone call or use her computer without Vernice's permission? When I held Isaiah, Nancy would go to the bathroom or go to change her clothes or just lay down and rest. On most occasions, the door was opened, except when she was taking a shower or using the bathroom. John thinks he would be so great in raising Isaiah. Well, my question is, was it not John's son who broke into a school and caused a lot of damage? Was it not his son that broke into the neighbors' homes and stole money and credit cards? Hasn't his son spent quite a bit of time in jail and correctional facilities? Was it not John's son who broke into his home by cutting a hole in the roof? Was it not John's son who threatened Nancy? Was it not John who also took a hand in telling his son to leave the home and not allow him to come back because he couldn't handle his son? He thinks Nancy is so bad. Well, look at how terrible Nancy raised Heather. Nancy stayed home to take care of Heather when she was small and needed parental guidance. Heather is a polite, kind, and caring person. She makes wonderful grades and is in the process of wanting to learn several other languages. She believes in God and tries to help people when she can and has never been in trouble with the authorities. I would like to say here that my daughter was 13 or 14 when my mother wrote this letter, and now my daughter is in her 4th year of college. I homeschooled her through the 9th grade. She scored in the top 10% in the nation every single year. At 14, she went to live with her father because she wanted to go to school and because of all that John was doing. It was just a very difficult time, so she went to live with her father because she really wanted to go to school. She graduated high school with a 4.0, doing all 4 years in 3 years. She got the highest SAT in her class and got a 4-year college scholarship with dorm to the University of Louisiana for computer science, by the way. As for those neighbors, what they had to say, I never in the 2 years I was there ever saw them at John and Nancy's home or even speak to them. The only person that I ever saw at their home was Rich. Rich is a witness to John's violence. Maybe once the neighbor directly across the street exchanged a wave. On one occasion we went across the street to their home to offer to help them clean, which the husband coolly declined, possibly because Nancy had spoken to them shortly before, that because she felt they were not talking nice to each other. I actually heard them screaming and yelling at each other. Their window was open, and I heard somebody slap another person. I found out he has slapped her. And I went in and told them that they had to stop acting like that and start getting along, because that was wrong. To be hitting each other, no matter how mad they got or how much they yelled at each other, to hit another person is wrong. Some of the neighbors said Nancy was irrational and was beating at their door looking for her baby after John had taken him from her. I think any sane person should have been doing that, and if they weren't looking for their baby, I think I would have to question the love of that person. Anyone who thinks that a mother wouldn't do that has to be the crazy one. Anyone who thinks, no, I am taking Nancy's side not only because she is my daughter, but I am also taking the side of the truth. My daughter has always tried to help people. She is saddened by the plight of the homeless people and is very interested in trying to help them in any way that she can. John knew this before he married her. He admitted to chasing after Nancy for 1.5 years, even after she explained to him how things were. Nancy finally agreed to marry him because he said he was willing to help and just wanted her to marry him. I am asking that you give custody of Isaiah to Nancy because she is the one who will love him, take care of him, and always be with him. He will have a better chance of following in the footsteps of his sister Heather and not in the steps of John's older son, who doesn't appear to have received the love and attention that he needed when he was younger. Thank you for your time and concern in this matter. I declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Washington and Georgia that to the best of my knowledge that all I have said is true and correct. January 30th, 2003. As she signed it. That's my mother. I will come back with the police report later. But this is enough for now. Thank you for listening. You can look me up on Can We End Poverty? It's a question. Can we end poverty.blogspot.com. I made that website when John did this to me so that I could prove the truth, because I was protesting in front of Medgar Evers swimming pool. And they arrested me, said it was for child luring. That's in the CPS report. And then the next day they changed it to pedestrian interference. And they took my son and never gave him back. Because they allowed John to do this to me. I need everybody's help. I want my son back. And I want my daughter Joy back. Because they also lied about me. And they're saying terrible, horrible things about me that are not true. What if it were you? What do you want somebody to help you? I have sent my story to more than 4,000 news sources. When you read my story at canweendpoverty.blogspot.com, you'll see that I sent it to everyone. Everyone. And no one has come forward to help me. Who's going to help me? When you help me, then I can help the world. But until we all stand together, there's nothing we can do. We can't complain anymore. We must come together. Don't let this ever stop. The Montgomery bus boycott lasted the longest of all. Let's do it longer.